in a box. Oh, the terrible secret of Animal Crossing. This sounds good. You're done deck tuning? Mayo Clinic. A migraine is a headache that can cause intense throbbing pain or a pulsing feeling, usually on one side of the head. It often happens with nausea, vomiting, extreme sensitivity to light and sound. Migraine attacks can last for hours to days, and the pain can be so bad that it interferes with your daily activities. That sounds like what I'm dealing with. You were scared, Scrant? I'm glad it was scary, Scrant. Woo! I'll scale it for you guys. Is this a good scale? Can you guys read it okay at this scale? I'm glad you loved it. I had basically every single one of those symptoms, Mark. Light sensitivity, yeah, sound, light sensitivity, nausea, vomiting, throbbing pain on one side of the head. Yeah. That sound. The only thing I didn't get was an aura. I don't really get migraine auras, which is very, very fortunate. Scren, si quieres alguna creepypasta, lo puedo leer. Hace tiempo que he leído algo en español, pero me encanta. Si hay algún cuento de la cripta. Oh, muy bien. Qué chévere. Gracias, Kren. Okay, we're gonna do... I don't know, I'm not sure. This looks like a bit of a long story, Mark. Oh no, a lot of it's pictures. A lot of it's just pictures. And then maybe I could change the language for my subtitles. If I'm reading in Spanish, I could change the language for subtitles so you could just read what I was saying if that interests you at all. Because I have a translator that would subtitle. If I was reading in Spanish, the translator could give you subtitles in whatever language. Give a little bit of accessibility for different audiences. Okay. Ready? This is gonna be the terrible secret of Animal Crossing. This is the right one, Mark, right? Part 1. Welcome to camp. I've always heard a lot of good things about Animal Crossing. I've never owned a GameCube. When it was re-released on the DS, it received such positive reviews that I decided to give it a shot, despite the fact that it appears to have been created for small children. Oh my god! A little bit of casual ableism. I love it. Down syndrome and ADD. My goodness. I was not prepared for the shit that goes on in this children's game. It's serious business. You're nervous? Oh god, you're nervous, Mark? Is it that scary? The result is this. I've documented a journal of Billy, a young, happy lad who appears he's going off to have fantastic adventures at summer camp. The following images have not been altered in any way other than to rescale them or identify which dialogue option is being chosen. This is a literal and practically contextual account of what happens to the poor bastard sent to Animal Crossing. Oh god. This is a true story of Billy. I mean, what year was this? Not that it's okay, but what year was this written? Zooming into the bunny. Oh, there's an audio track. It doesn't have a date here. Part 1, welcome to camp. I'd never heard of this particular summer camp, but it was cheap and we were broke. The camp sends us their personal cabbie. I tossed my suitcase in the trunk and we take off before my mother even gets a chance to wave goodbye. Like the beginning of all shitty horror stories, it's pouring outside. Something wrong with the cab driver. Some kind of glandular problem. What do you mean? Glandular problem? Oh, Smile Dog? Yeah, we could do Smile Dog. That's a classic. Yeah, okay, we'll do Smile Dog after Animal Crossing. That image is classic. Old school. So tell me, Billy, why are you setting sail for camp? His speech is garbled. I don't like the way he says camp, like he's being sarcastic. Despite the long drive, I never get more of his face than a passing glance. Hey! I don't know why my Glaggle command isn't working. Hi, Tochiko-san. How are you? Whoa. Hey! Whoa! I'm just wanted to check my Glaggle command's not broken. I thought I did something. Let me fix it. I'm very good, Tochiko-san. Oh, because Tit's closed. 1 second. I'm gonna fix the. Yes, I'm very. I hope you're having a very spooky day. I have successfully recovered from my migraine, Tochiko-san, with the help of a little, Chinese caffeine. I'm so glad to hear you're having a good day. I love your Chikorita, your little Chikorita. Look. Ow. How come it didn't show up? I gotta move it. I gotta move it. Oh, I'll move it. I'm sorry. A little bit of scuff. What's a stream without a little scuff? Ow! Owie! There you go. I'm just gonna... Thank you for the sub! Thank you so much for the sub, Tochiko-san. How come my throwing system's not... Maybe it's just not the right. Thank you.
Ukbar head pats Ukbar Leo and Ukbar gig lag Ukbar Katamari Ukbar Katamari.
I wonder why the throwing system isn't showing up. Thank you again for the sub, Tochiko-san. was working earlier. At least I think it was working. Very interesting. Very interesting. Very curious. Trying to make my throwing system show up, but it doesn't want to. Allow transparency? Whoa, there it is. When I do allow transparency, it shows up. You see that? But it shows up gray. It shows up gray. Very interesting. Apologize. I thought my glaggles would look great. Apparently not. You like the idiot face? Let's see if we can see the... Yeah, you can't see the throwing system interface. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. It is the idiot face! Yes, it is. I'm confused as to why the throwing system is not showing up. You think they look good? I'm so glad. Yeah, for some reason, my screen capture does not want to capture the throwing system. Something very bizarre is going on. Maybe I'll add a window capture, just so you can see it. I want you to see. Da, 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 da. We're reading scary stories. What should we call this? Let's call it da 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 da. Da 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 da. Is it? Can you see it? No, that is a screen cap. That is not the Switch integrated throwing system. That's very bizarre. That's not supposed to be a screen cap. It's supposed to be a window capture. Some very interesting things are happening right now. Some truly bizarre things are occurring to the stream. Isn't this great? I'm gonna say it's not great, actually. Yeah, I've never had that break on me while I'm live like that. Very strange and concerning. It also crashed earlier. Like, none of these things are working. The eggs. Like, you can hear the sound, but you can't actually see it. I don't know why. It was working earlier. It was working earlier. Could it be because I have a screen cap that's open? I'm wondering if that's what it is. Maybe if I... No, I don't think that is it. I wonder. Whatever. Whatever, we're probably gonna have to just deal with it. Eventually, someday, I will have glaggles in the throwing system. when it finally works. STL cross. Oh wow, there it is. There it is. Oh, we got it. We got it. Got throwing systems back. Throwing systems back. Just had to brute force it a little bit. We have a throwing... Ah, there's a throwing system. There's a throwing system. That looks like a throwing system to me. Okay, okay, okay. Now watch. It was supposed to make its noise. Keeps hitting me with the idiot face over and over again. Ow. Thank you guys. Thank you for your... Ow! Ow! They also were making noises, but you can't have everything. You can't have everything you want in life. I'm glad you have your idiot face now, Tojiko-san. we're good. I'm just gonna keep reading some scary stories, okay, guys? We're reading a scary Animal Crossing story. Captain's speech is garbled, and I don't like the way he says camp like he's being sarcastic. Despite the long drive, I never get more of his face than a passing glance. We seem to drive forever. Eventually, I lose track of time and start to doze off to the mesmerizing sound of the rain beating against the window. I'm jolted awake when he tries to make small talk. He asks me how I'm going to pay off the fare in a lighthearted manner, as though we hadn't already paid the camp admissions. This should have been my first sign that something was horribly wrong. You have enough to get settled? I'll just have to make you work it off, you scallywag. Yah! Oh god. Welcome to camp. We come to a rolling stop, and I stumble out of the door while he shouts at me with that sarcastic voice again before peeling off with my suitcase still in the trunk. Son of a bitch. All I've got on me are the clothes on my back and a shitty haircut. My only option is to check in. The lady behind the counter is a fucking pelican who calls herself Pellies. It's some kind of... I like how this guy, the writer of the story, genuinely hates Animal Crossing. Is this some kind of theme camp crap where the adults dress like animals? Okay, you've never played Animal Crossing before? Tom Nook has certainly been in a mood lately, I must say. I like that emote, Scrunt. Me encanta. She tells me the director, Tom Nook, has taken a special interest in setting up my cabin for me. I didn't know it at the time, but that name would be burned into my memory forever. There's a hint of recital in her voice, as though she's made this speech before. Anyway, I'm sure you're anxious to see your home. My home. It's so barren. What the fuck? What the fuck is going on? No toilet, no sink, not even a goddamn chair. I get a cardboard box, a candle with no matches, and a boombox only plays one song, and it fucking skips. I make for the admissions office. Before I even get out the door, Tom Nook is all over me like a cross between a used car salesman, a lawyer, and a German shepherd, despite being dressed as a raccoon and a goddamn meat ticket. The perspective of the kid, yes indeed. This is Billy. So what do you think? Looks quite cozy and comfortable, huh? You'll get used to it soon enough. Not to worry, huh? Why don't you come to work part-time at my shop, huh? Well, then I'll be waiting for you by the store. Come on by. Hi again, Mark. We didn't really get very far. Before I can get a word in edgewise, he tells me I bought this piece of crap shed. I owe him a ton of cash, and I better pay him back, seeing as how I don't have any money. He'd be happy to let me work in his little sweatshop wonderland, so he expects to be stopping by right now. And then he's gone. I stumble around for a while in a stupor, trying to get my bearings. Camp isn't huge. There aren't any paths or trails. It's just a featureless pile of dirt with a few trees. I wander past a run-down clothing store before I notice a shantytown reject with a hand-scrawled sign that reads Nook's Cranny. It occurs to me just to be honest with Nook. Just be honest with Nook. I didn't buy a cabin. I'm just an 8-year-old on vacation. Big mistake. Alright then, first things first, you'll need to change into these work clothes. If you must know, everyone who works here is required to wear a uniform. First off, I want you to plant some trees and flowers around my shop. Don't think that you can dilly-dally just because I'm not watching you. I'll be waiting for you, so don't take too long. Now let me know when you're done. Just SOB, plays for keeps, and within seconds I'm putting on a work uniform, lugging a huge sack of fertilizer out the door. It's after I've started to plant my third sapling that panic sets in. There's something seriously wrong here. Why aren't there any other campers? Why did Nook say everyone who works here wears a uniform, even though there are clearly no other employees? Was he talking past him? If I work for Tom now, why haven't I signed any paperwork? And why is there only one old, used cabin in this entire walled-in campground that isn't the home of a counselor dressed like some kind of furry? Oh, God. My stomach's in knots. I bolt across the empty lot to where the large fortified gatehouse sits looming. Carved out of face of solid rock, a two-man-sized dog soldiers stare me down, and I curse under my breath for not being able to find a single normal person. But at this point, I'm nearing hysteria. I want to go out. Oh my god. I begged one to open the gates, but he stared blankly through my face and his reply sends a shiver down my spine that's punctuated by my own name. Oh, isn't there some other business that you need to take care of, Billy? Like your part-time job, for example? How does this asshole even know my name unless... Holy fuck. It suddenly penetrates my 8-year-old brain like a brick through a convenience store window. They're all in on it. The mysterious cabbie that took off with all my shit, being forced to wear work clothes, the impossible sudden death, guarded gates. It's all one big conspiracy. And I'm trapped. And I'm alone. This is the perspective of the Animal Crossing character. Part 2, Hell Week. I cried myself to sleep that night. There was nothing I could do. I was a child out of my element in a world I didn't understand. This is the camp service center, where we adjust life to your needs. I tried to call my mom on the phone they put in my bedroom, but all I got was an answering machine that spouted utterly useless Orwellian bullshit. To my horror, I inspected the back of the phone only to find there wasn't even a cord. Just a cheap prop. They'd even gone so far as to nail it down to the shelf. Oof. I slept like shit, bolting up in bed at the slightest sound. I had hazy dreams about a legion of half-animal, half-man shadows bustling through my door in the middle of the night doing unspeakable things. Nobody came for me. The next day, I headed back to Nook's. In the sobering light of morning, my thought was that I would have to come up with a plan to escape. But until then, I should lie low, not make a scene. Plus, I was starving, and there was no cafeteria or food hall on the entire grounds, just a few orange trees for sustenance. I asked Nook about food and payment. Nook didn't give a fuck. All he worried about was making sure I was constantly working from sunup to sundown. Over the next week, I was sent on a variety of errands for Tom, and delivered shit to every resident in camp, who all had nice, well-furnished homes, though I could never figure out what they did during the day. Occasionally, I'd see them randomly roaming the grounds like zombies, but in general, they stayed locked up in their houses. One day, Nook made a fatal mistake. Yes, you can write on this stationery. He asked me to find a sales flyer. He asked me to send a sales flyer to a resident in town, and gave me a blank envelope. This is my chance. Wonder if I can make it bigger. Don't think I can make it bigger while keeping everything. Not quite. Gonna get a message out to my mom. With any luck, the Pelican woman wouldn't be paying close attention to the address, thinking it was a sales flyer from Tom Nook. I took his stationery and scribbled out a brief but clear message. Dear Mom, this is not a real camp. I am being forced into labor. Send the police ASAP. Please mail me some food. From Billy. Clutching the letter in my clammy palms, I forked it over for delivery, sweat cliff-hanging from my brow. All I could do now was wait. I didn't have to wait long. To my surprise, the letter was sitting in my mailbox that evening, from my mom, the very same day. Oh God. Dear Billy, summer is over and it's getting chilly. I slipped on some wet leaves today. It was unfortunate. Guess fall's here. Heart emoji, Mom. She sends an acorn. What's this? A fucking pun? I beg for food and she sends me an acorn? Is this some kind of sick joke? Oh no. Oh fuck no. My mom never got my letter and she never will. She didn't write this shit. In one instant, all my hopes are shattered. And now... Now they know that I know. I fall into a fog of despair. and curl into my bed hoping to die, but the next morning comes and hunger strives me for my misery. Nook claims he'll pay me for all this work I've been doing, but I haven't seen a dime from it. He just gives me more and more errands while the residents mock me. Oh, a carpet! You sure are working hard, aren't you, Billy? How does he expect me to pay off this debt? The answer is simple. He doesn't. Days go by. We get a new resident in town named Pete, and if you're thinking he's named after a food made from his own... Oh, Pate? Pate! His name was Pate. If you think he's named after a food made from his own species, you're right. Nook orders me to deliver a massive throw rug to the toupee-wearing duck man, and I begrudgingly haul it over. Wow, thanks. Totally cool. Oh, I see, Billy. You're working for Nook. Well, I guess everyone gets in over their heads now and then. So, hey, you should take my stove. Now cheer up, Quackle. Pate shares a disturbing bit of dialogue with me, and then something odd happens. I think he meant to call me a cracker, but when I got home that evening... No, it's Quackle. Hi, Glitch. We're reading Animal Crossing creepypasta. Then I'm gonna read Smile Dog, and then I don't know. When I get home that evening, he has shipped a gas stove over to my shack. With winter coming on, it may be the only thing that keeps me alive. Is it possible I've made a friend in this fucked up place? I set it up next to my candle. Are things finally looking up? The seeds of a plan begin to come together. It's risky. I've got to take any chance I get. That night, while Nook's distracted, I'll steal some paper from his shop. Tonight I'll send Pate a letter explaining my situation and beg for his help. Since he's new around here, maybe Nook hasn't already gotten to him. That evening, I slip a thin envelope under the mallard's door. I toss and turn all night. Dear Pate, I'm being held hostage here. If you have any decency at all, please help me. I'm begging you. From Billy. I guess Animal Crossing is kind of a horror game when you think about it. The next day, I'm headed back from a job when I see Pate walking zombie-like back to his house. He just came from Nook's. I cautiously approach him, unsure of how to broach the subject. Hi, I say. Leave me alone. You're like a chewed-up piece of gum I accidentally sat on. Gag me. Oh my god. Oh my god, Glitch, you have to brush your teeth or the evil tooth fairy is gonna come for you. Be careful, Glitch. Stay safe out there. But it's out of the corner of my eye, I see the mayor gesturing to me as Pate hurries away. Timidly, I meet him. Remember, Billy, the mayor always has his eye on you. And that's when I know what needs to be done. This isn't the mayor's work, or the residents, or a cab driver. This show is being run by Tom Nook, and the only way I'm getting out of here is on my own. Okay, guys, I'm gonna feed Penelope. So I will be right back.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
I am the cheese. I am the best character on the show. I am better than both the salami and the bologna combined.
A new litter of Glaggles. I have a baby Glaggle. How beautiful. This occurrence is so joyous. Glaggle. I am a baby Glaggle. How beautiful. I am a baby Glaggle. This occurrence is so joyous.
What was that? What was that? How are you feeling, Glitch? I remember you were having your own issues recently. I hope you're good. Thanks. Thank you. Let's see if the thing I just did works. Yeah, they're supposed to giggle. I don't know why they stopped giggling. I don't know if the command works. No, the command does not work, unfortunately. You've been sick all week. Oh god, I'm sorry, Glitch. Feel better. I'm glad you like the giggler. I'm glad you're on the mends. Yeah, I feel better. What music are we listening to? Put some rice on, because I definitely need to eat something, because I've been getting very sick. What is this? I wish this music could be popular again? Oh, this might... Oh, I hope I don't get in trouble for playing this. Let's go back. You need hot water with honey? Ooh, yes. No, it helps. I've been having severe migraines all day. Took me out completely. So if that helps. I'm having pu'er. Pu'er is pretty much my solution to all problems. Oh yeah, you're right. You're Agua tibia, alivia. Agua tibia, alivia. Agua tibia. But tibia is more like room temperature, isn't it? Correcto, ¿no os creen? ¿Verdad que el agua tibia alivia? Okay, we're gonna finish the Animal Crossing creepypasta. Look, we're about a fifth of the way through it. But it goes fast. I don't drink much. I try not to drink anything cold because it just gives me chills. That's something I did pick up from being around a lot of South Americans. I mean, I get very health conscious. Sí, de verdad. Así pensaba. Questions and answers. It's time to man up. I've decided to confront Nook. I'm gonna demand he let me go, and if he refuses, I'll take him out and burn the whole fucking camp to the ground around me. One thing I wasn't prepared for was his response. Since I no longer have any work for you, I'm afraid I'll have to lay you off. Huh? What's that? Your mortgage? Oh, well, of course, you'll still have to pay back every last bell of it. Since there's no more work for you to do here, you'll have to find other methods. Con miel. Gracias. Debo tomar agua con miel. Ayer lo hice, pero eché ron. Eché ron en el agua con miel. Era miel, maracuyá y mandarina. Eché ron y por eso me desperté con migraña. Por supuesto me desperté con migraña. Ouch. La próxima vez no voy a echar ron. I shouldn't be complaining too much. Okay, you're reading Discord, Mark? That's good. Well, thank you for the recommendation. I'm enjoying the story. It's starting to get scary, though. Ow. Por supuesto. Pero solo era ron blanco. Solo era ron blanco. Era suave. He acts like it was his idea. Like he's doing me a favor. All I have to do is pay off his house and he'll personally drive me home. I don't even want to know what alternate methods he thinks I should use to make money. In typical Nook fashion, which I've come to loathe, he continues to smooth talk me. He wants me to know that he's still the boss, he's still in control. I don't give a crap. I don't work for Nook anymore, I'm leaving. What's this? I see that you do not have anyone on your friend roster yet. We can't have you wandering around strange towns, it just isn't safe. Friend roster? For my own safety? Son of a bitch. Yeah, I'm free to go. Nowhere. I'm about to tell him exactly where to go, but I stumble on my thoughts. For some reason, I can't seem to remember where I live. Can't remember my address. I've been here about a month now, maybe more. I should still be able to remember. Maybe I can appeal to the other one. Good night, Glitch. Yes, feel better. Feel better. And if you have water with honey, oh, that's so pretty, Glitch. You're like Tojiko-san. You're so good with the emotes. Just remember not to put rum in it. Oyasumi. Oh, hey, look. I'd rather not talk to you. Fuck this shit. I head back to Nook and let him know the score. Oh my god, what is Nook saying? Oh no, I think that's Billy. Billy's calling him something very mean. He laughs, and then he gives me the shovel, and suggests I start digging. That smart son of a bitch. No court on earth would convict me if I beat him right here with his own shovel, but the truth is, I'm scared. I'm just a kid. As much as I hate Nook, the thought of actually killing someone makes me sick to my stomach. The icing on the cake was it wouldn't help me escape. I can't fight off the whole town. I have to get my head straight. I need a plan to get past the guard dogs. I need to stock up food, make sure I don't starve after I'm out of here. God only knows where they've taken me. I'll need to be invisible. I'll stick out like a giant catch me sign in this work uniform. Oh, see if we can dismiss this. Snooze the ads. Yes, yes. Worst of all, after everything that's happened, Nook's gonna be expect me to try to break out of here. I'll have to wait for the right time. But first, I'll need to make some cash and let things settle down for a while. Maybe the best plan would be to look like I'm really listening? Like I really care about paying off my palatial cardboard estate? This is actually pretty good writing. But how am I supposed to pay it off? Nook says he'll pay almost anything. I don't ask why. What's worth my time, Nook? His answer, dinosaur bones. What? Is he just fucking with me? He tells me to go to Blathers, a jerk in charge of the camp museum. I head over to the museum to find out what the hell he's talking about. Well, if it's fossils you wish to know about, please do not hesitate to ask. The goal in creating this space... terribly sorry, my babbling again. So, to fill the exhibits, I will need cooperation with our fine residents here, what? While I listened to the owl's patchwork explanation, I couldn't help but wonder, why would there be dinosaur bones in a flat field on a beach? What exactly used to be here before this camp was built anyway? And now that I'm thinking about it, why would anyone build a museum that doesn't have anything in it? The only reply I get from the owl is a shallow snore. Owls don't fucking snore. Terribly sorry. I start to dig randomly, and now I know Nook thought it would be hilarious to suggest I dig my way out. Only a foot below this topsoil is solid fucking limestone. And that's as deep as I'm gonna get. How am I supposed to find anything like this? A few hours later, I'm starving, exhausted, and pissed off at myself for becoming another one of Nook's goddamn lives. I'm about to pack it up and wash off in a waterfall when something odd happens. I hit something. Check out what I dug up. A fossil. Could it actually be? It's hard to tell. It's covered in dirt and kind of abstract. With the sun setting behind me, I sprint back to the museum to show the narcoleptic curator. Ahoo! This particular sample was a challenge to identify with certainty, but... I am now confident it's a seismo skull. Indeed it is. Ooh! Indeed, I would like your permission to keep it in my possession as a donation. It seems authentic, but I'm skeptical. This greedy asshole thinks I should just donate it to his echoing monument to failed ambition. He clearly couldn't give a wet fuck if I'm filthy, hungry, and broke. I tell him to piss off. I've got raccoons to defraud. Nook's already closed for the day, but tomorrow will mark my first step on my trip out of here. 8 a.m. sharp, I make a beeline for Nook's. Let's see, altogether, I'll pay 5,000 bells for everything. I'm actually a little surprised when Nook agrees to pay for my fossil. But my surprise turns to anger when I find out he's going to pay me in bells. It's an imaginary bullshit currency. It's not even real money. It's just a leaf that has a small hole punched in. It's infuriating to think how he continues to fuck with me at every opportunity. An upturned smirk on his smarmy face all the while, but I try to play it cool. I think he'll actually get satisfaction out of seeing me upset, so I take his money and leave. At first, I was skeptical of Nook's decision to stop working me, but over time I've come to understand the method to his madness. He's been forcing me to make difficult decisions. For example, if I pick oranges to sell to him, I'll go hungry, but otherwise I'll never pay off my debt. The same rule applies to almost everything at camp. I start every day forced to make a decision between working and starving. Oh my god, is this in America? I'm free, but nothing has changed. There's still one thing I don't understand. Why is he keeping me here? What does he want with me? I hate that son of a bitch. I spend the next few weeks digging up fossils, getting them inspected, turning them over to Nook for cash, quote unquote, which I've started to accumulate in mass. I tried counterfeiting his idiotic system, but he somehow knew which bells were which. To punish me, he refused to buy or sell me anything for a week. After that, I bought a fishing rod from him. I've been trying to learn to catch fish. Oranges haven't been providing enough nutrition alone. With the extra effort of digging, I've begun to have dizzy spells. But most important, I'm fucking sick of them. I hated that I was starting to adapt to this life. I was becoming complacent. I hated that I had to play Nook's deranged games so that I could afford to escape. But I was starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I had saved enough food to buy a quote-unquote costume from the camp seamstress, which I used to secretly fish at night so I could stockpile some food for my escape without the all-seeing eyes of wandering residents. I knew that whatever they saw, Tom saw, was keeping the fish alive in my house so they wouldn't go bad. Yeah, the little fish tanks. I told the seamstress it was for the Halloween event coming up soon. But in truth, it's going to help me blow this joint. During the day, I had changed back into my work clothes to avoid suspicion. In the meantime, I kept busy digging up fossils, bringing them to Blathers, and selling them to Nook, starting to lose track of time. And this pushed me more than anything to keep going. I think these are all just screenshots from a normal game. This is really interesting. How it kind of the experience of an actual character in Animal Crossing of one of the residents is kind of horror. It is kind of survival horror if you're trying to escape. I had gotten pretty good at recognizing where I might find hidden fossils. There always seemed to be small pieces of cracked dirt where the fossils rested. At first, this struck me as being odd. What geological oddity would cause the fossils to be pushed from underneath, as though they were rising to the surface? And why did it seem like new ones appeared each day in areas where I hadn't seen them before? Over time, though, I would rely on their quirky nature to keep me from wasting my entire day tolling this dusty shithole of a camp. Are we shuffle? Are we on shuffle? Shuffle is on. Mark, you're still here. Gonna have another cup of tea. I'm so glad. So glad for this tea. I was doing my rounds when a disturbed patch of dirt caught my eye, a more obvious crack than I was used to seeing. As I pitched my shovel into the earth, I was suddenly jolted by a screaming chill that shot through my arm like a lightning bolt. I dropped the shovel, and it slowly faded off as I stared at the patch of dirt in shock, like I'd seen an arm shoot out of it, clawing for brains. There was a long period of silence. Nothing happened. I resumed digging, and soon hit something lurking just beneath the topsoil. It was a crude statue. Like some kind of ancient graven image. And I caught myself muttering out loud, "What the fuck is this thing?" when it snapped open. Its rust-heavy eyes and stared into my soul. A metallic word pushed itself into my head where it echoed like a tin can kicked against the wall of an abandoned warehouse. Gyroid. An unexplainable emotion tore through my battered brain like an unholy mixture of unbridled, terrible, and insatiable curiosity. It was the kind of feeling that made idiots in horror movies open their backlit door, even though they know a maniac is waiting on the other side to chop them into little bits. I had to find more of these. I had to understand what they were. I wouldn't be showing this one to the owl. Wow. Animal Crossing is scary. When you can make anything scary if you're a good writer. That's what I'm realizing. It's not always about what you're writing about, but how you're writing about it, because that's just a normal Animal Crossing experience. This whole story is just perfectly normal day in Animal Crossing. I can see why you like this, Mark. It's really well written. Especially if you're an Animal Crossing fan, you can tell how everything is perfectly normal, but it's like, imagine someone was like trapped in there. Okay, let's start all over. Things have been strange for me lately. All the pieces are in place. I'm ready to put my plan in motion. I've been obsessing over the freaky gyroid statues. Since the day I dug up my first one, I found several more scattered around the campsite, hidden, buried. I wonder how many there are under here. For now, that's the concept. I see. Oh, and after months of backbreaking labor, I paid off Tom Nook's debt. Oh! Wow. Good job. My home loan's all paid off. It wasn't the great accomplishment I thought it would be, though. Nothing surprises me anymore. I went to Nook to get my daily dosage of bitter disappointment, to find that he had used his ill-gotten gains to remodel his shop. Welcome, yes, welcome to the grand opening of Nook and Go. Yes, when I heard you repaid all of your home loan. Very prompt of you, yes. I knew I could trust you to pay it off, Billy, but that reminds me. Isn't your current house just a tad cramped? Oh shit, here it comes. We could build you a larger home. It could hold much more furniture, yes? Oh my god, smaller is cozier. I make a half-hearted attempt to be diplomatic. Oh, Billy, always the joker, I know a young up-and-comer like you, Billy. You couldn't possibly be satisfied with a house that small, not likely. So the roof on your newer, bigger house, what color should it be, What new house? Well, I plan to be finished with your rebuild tomorrow. I bet you can't wait, Now then, there is the matter of the cost of your little project. For materials, labor, taxes, and of course permits. The total came to 1,200,000 bells. And don't feel rushed. Take your time. Pace yourself. That's just fine, yes? He wants you to be saddled with debt as long as possible. So I expect to see more of you in the store here. Oh, yes, indeed. He asked me what color roof I like, and before I know it, there's laborers banging on my walls into the night. Motherfucker. I slept under the stars that night, cold and numb. Now I owe him even more money. He wouldn't even take no for an answer. Where is he getting the cash for this kind of operation? Was he able to sell the fossils, which he paid me for in leaves, for real cash to some shady third person? Third-party person, not third-person party. But otherwise, the writing is amazing. Maybe the fossils are real after all. Was this his plan for me? To mine free archaeological child labor? It didn't seem devious enough for Nook. I get back to the grind. I gotta find more gyroids. I've made a little shrine to the gyroids in the corner of my recently engorged house. When I found the first one, it would make an occasional noise. Now I have a small collection of them, and I've started to see images in my head. I hear solitary, tinny words echo through the living room. I'd hear them whisper things like, dig, or rain, but I could never make out a whole sentence. I would come home to find them in different positions, like if they had moved when I wasn't watching. Now that there's several, I hear their voices more frequently, as if they talk to each other. I'd wake up in a cold sweat at night and creep downstairs to look at them, but they were always motionless. I know there's something really wrong about the gyroids, but whenever I think about throwing them out or destroying them, my stomach knots up in like a punch to the gut. It's like owning a childhood safety blanket made of asbestos. In a sick way, it's like they're my only friends. I haven't thought about my escape in weeks, and my actions have become sluggish, as though every step is a struggle to wade through swamp muck. When I'm not digging for gyroids, I'm engaging in some kind of mindless activity. Monday, I spent lazily catching bugs. Tuesday, I don't remember. Wednesday, I think I fished or collected seashells. Besides Nook, none of the residents said a word to me for weeks. I'd briefly considered, against my better judgment, trying to form some kind of pathetic relationship with some of them before I realized how futile it was. Residents constantly moved through camp without notice. Occasionally, I would check my mail and find a letter saying they had just packed up and left in the middle of the night. Yo, 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 Billy! I'm moving! Man, we had a great time chilling in camp. I'll think of you when I pump that iron. Later, yo. Ribbot. Their letters carry generic farewells that I'm sure they didn't write. I don't even know who Ribbot was, but now he's gone. The houses they lived in are packed up, or empty. This is a great story, Mark. Gone overnight. Where are they going? And why? Doesn't matter, the only person in town who even came close to being sane is a dog that makes an occasional appearance in the museum lounge area. My name's KK Slider. I play my tunes here pretty much every Saturday night. Slider's the only one that doesn't talk like a mental patient. That's not very nice to say. He shows up late Saturday night to play guitar. Sometimes his songs are the only thing that takes me away from this horror. If only for a few minutes. Yeah, you're one to talk about mental patients. Over time, I've realized that he comes here just to comfort me. Nobody else comes to his shows. I think he truly feels pity for me. He always has a troubled look in his eye, like playing guitar is his way of apologizing. Sleepy. That's how I felt all the time. Not tired. Just sleepy. That's why I was just lying on the ground that day, watching the clouds roll by, listening to the waves break on the shore. It occurred to me idly that I never saw any birds in this camp. Never heard gulls crying on the beach. Never saw any planes or boats go by. All I ever saw was rolling blue sky and puffy white clouds and tiny packages tied to balloons. Wait. What? The fuck? The absurdity of this hits me like a bucket of cold water to the face, and I jump to my feet, racing to the spot where the strong, salty breeze was carrying the balloon swiftly past the rock walls of the camp. I scanned for something to throw. Anything. Grabbed for a handful of rocks that started chucking. Just as the balloon was about to breeze past me forever, I made a lucky shot. The hours spent skipping stones paid off, and the package came plummeting down to earth. Faint tinkle of shattered glass. Oof. I handled it cautiously like a bomb, waiting for some fool to try and defuse it. Pulling out the wrapping paper reveals a busted desk lamp. It's utterly mystifying who would set a desk lamp afloat on a balloon from this camp, knowing that if it ever came down, it would be useless. The thought crossed my mind that Nook was just continuing to play his mindfuck games with me, but this didn't feel like Nook. I dug carefully around the empty box to make sure I didn't miss something. I had. In the lining poked a small white triangle, a corner of an envelope, tucked away between the wrapping paper and the box. The front was blank. Without a second thought, I tore it open and read, "Is there anyone else out there? If you get this, please help me. I'm trapped here, all alone, and I'm scared." From Penny. You have got to be kidding me. Oh. Could there really be someone else like me nearby? Trapped in a hellish summer camp nightmare? I have so many questions, but can only fit a few in my reply. Dear Penny, I was kidnapped too. Where are you from? How long have you been here? Send more balloons ASAP. From Billy. The next challenge is, how do I get a response back to her? With the wind blowing westward, a balloon of my own would drift the wrong direction, away from Penny, and besides, where would I get a helium balloon? My mind's racing, but I pause when I vaguely remember Nook is selling a child's slingshot at a store. Crazy idea occurred to me. I purchased the slingshot as casually as possible. Honestly, I don't think Nook cares what I do anymore. A few days ago, I noticed an axe on display. It must have been a mistake. Was he really cocky enough to sell me a weapon? Is he taunting me? You might want to limit yourself to only cutting trees that are in the way. One of these days, Nook. Anyway, using the largest hollow seashell I can find, I tuck my folded up note inside and draw a glaring red X on the outside. I head to the eastern rock wall. With all the strength an exhausted child can muster, I raise my slingshot and let my message in a seashell fly over the artificial-looking wall. I was lucky. It cleared the peak. On the wind, I could faintly hear the crumbling of loose gravel as it tumbled down the other side. I prayed my hunch would pay off. And once again, I was forced to wait. Forced to rely on the goodwill of a stranger who would inevitably let me down. You're so pessimistic. Sorry, I was just double-checking something. No, this is good. It's well written. I mean, it definitely does come off kind of like that era of creepypasta, you know? That kind of like young, like high school or college student style, you know? Quick, witty, sarcastic tone, but I like a sarcastic narrator, honestly. When I wasn't digging, I was staring to the east, praying for the slightest hint of sun glistening off a shiny, inflated orb. I ran through all the hundreds of scenarios that would lead to my inevitable disappointment. Maybe Penny was caught and punished. Maybe she doesn't exist. Maybe she's actually hundreds of miles away. Maybe she never found my letter. For all I know, she'd be sitting in an empty plot of dirt, never to be seen again. The chances that she'd find it and send another balloon message was 1 in a million, and today, I had won the lottery. Wow. I ran like a starving lioness chasing a gazelle. With my free time, I had been practicing my slingshot skills, and now I was a crack shot. I love tea. Oh my god, thank god for tea. In just 2 thwangs, the package came tumbling down. I scooped it up giddily and snuck back to my house, tearing into the wrapping with the closest thing to unbridled joy I'd felt since I got here. And it was like Christmas Day for POWs. Dear Billy, oh my god, I can't believe it. I am so happy. We have to keep writing. I've been alone for so long. From Penny. This time she had sent me a bottle filled with dirt along with her letter. Over time, I came to realize that the items in her box were meaningless. All they did was weigh down the helium balloon enough so it wouldn't float off into the sun. The letters were the real treasure. In the next few weeks, Penny and I wrote each other in this way constantly and only operated at nighttime. She told me she used to send messages out on the ocean in bottles, but she had been caught and punished severely. For her birthday, residents offered to get her one present of her choice, and she had said that all she really wanted was 1 balloon every day until her next birthday to lift her spirits, quote unquote. She's a clever girl. Wow. We started getting into details of each other's lives. What was the same, what was different. We both had freaky animal-like residents that would move in and then leave at seemingly random times. We both had the same buildings. To my surprise and creeping horror, both of our towns were run by a raccoon calling himself Tom Nook. Though Penny tells me he used to be there every day and now she'd only see him once a week at best. Oh, probably because Timmy and Tommy are working at the corner, or the cranny, or whatever. We discussed the details of our camps. They sound very similar, so I asked her to send me a drawing of her town the next time. While I waited, I drew out a map of my own camp to send back. Though I had long ago become jaded by fucked up events in this camp, I have to admit my stomach twisted when I finally saw her response. Except for a few tiny differences, it was almost identical to my map. Horror started to slink back into my addled brain as a few puzzle pieces came together. I wrote back to Penny that night. I think there might be more of us out there. A lot more. We have to find out. From Billy. Between Penny and myself, we got to work, slowly sending messages blindly in every direction, with notes asking to spread the word. I borrowed some of her balloons, then set them adrift in different directions. To equal delight and disgust, we started getting responses from every side. Jack, Sarah, Aaron, Jimmy, Philip, Emily. Oh, there's a Philip! Names were starting to roll in, and most of them were confused and surprised that anyone else was out there at all. Some of them were just a few weeks into their ordeal, and some had been captives for years. All of them were scared. I started receiving balloon packages at alarming rates. I began to worry that someone would notice. That's a lot of packages. We requested maps from our new friends in an attempt to figure out where we were, or a way to escape. As various drawings started to come together, I never got used to the fact that they were all virtually carbon copies, all walled in outdoor cages. I was surprised to find myself start to get excited. Maybe between all of us we can do it. Maybe we can really escape from this hell. But something was bothering me logistically. Something didn't make sense about the maps. I decided to conduct an experiment. I had borrowed a lot of blank patterns from our seamstress, who was starting to get a little suspicious of my newfound interest in fashion. On each square, I began piecing together the maps I had gotten, drawing their locations as closely as I could figure. I used blue to show the beach area, and brown lines to show the camp walls. Little white lines marked the gate leading out of each camp. It turns out the camps shared walls, which Luckily for us, was the only thing that allowed Penny to find my messages. Put a big X over my camp and an O over Penny's. Over time, the bigger image started to form in my head. Trying to figure out where everyone was located in relation to each other was turning out to be tricky, and I had to break into several larger sheets. I needed space wide enough to lay all this out to get a good look. In the dead of the night, I dragged out my creation behind the museum, where nobody would see me, and I started to put together the puzzle I'd stitched together thanks to the work of dozens of small, bruised, and bleeding hands. Crap, how big is this place? Oh god, no. Please don't be right. It's a fucking island. Oh my god. For the first time in months, I fell to my knees and cried. Wow. Hurry up and wait. The same pattern over and over here. The rise before the fall. Everything seemed to be looking up, getting better. Yeah, Philip reference, yes. Everything seems to be looking up, getting better. You know, you can see the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel, and then the hammer drops. And you're pounded to a level you didn't know you could sink to before. But somehow life goes on. I was so lucky to have Penny. If I was alone, this new knowledge might have been the end of me. Might have made me finally give up, roll over, and die. Instead, we shared our misery, and in some indescribable way, it made things livable, even at the worst of times. Alone, we were just scared children, but together, we felt like we could handle it. Even Nook. Some time passed before we could figure out our castaway conundrum. We don't know what they did, but neither of us managed to stay awake for our fateful cab ride to camp. We both suffered from zero visibility as our cab driver maneuvered through a torrential downpour. The only possible answer was that something happened to us in that cab. Some kind of gas or fume that caused us to pass out and lose time. Something that the frog-like cab driver was immune to. And who knows how far we actually traveled. But then, there's the question of how we arrived at an island. Penny says she can't picture him anymore. He's been trapped here several years, but I remember the strange cabbie. Why are you setting sail for a camp? He wanted me to call him Cap'n. He had an odd, fishy smell. It was my first glimpse at the horrible animal residence in camp. He had a salty accent, like a crusty fisherman past his prime. The only explanation that makes sense is that the man runs a boat, maybe one big enough to drive a car onto. Maybe he even operates a car ferry, like the ones my family used to take when we would make road trips cross-country. Penny thinks this is probably right. She's always wondered how they found the bottled messages she had flown out to sea. But our method of capture may be our means of escape. Looking at the map we stitched together, there seem to be two logistical locations where a ferry or boat might be docked. On the western or eastern tips, where there didn't appear to be an enclosed camp. Stealing their boat would have been our best bet. We'd have a reliable gateway, and with any luck, they wouldn't be able to chase us. We just hoped it didn't have sails. We knew we couldn't take all the other captives with us. Even with all the other children on the island, we were outnumbered 10 to 1. It was obvious that we'd have to send help later. First, we needed to escape from our own camps. And I had been failing at this pretty consistently. Even with the prospect of real escape and Penny's friendship, the gyroids hung like storm clouds in the back of my mind. How could I escape and still take them with me? I had only been thinking about the problem for a few months, but Penny had 100 plans. Water escape was too risky. Too many factors. Fuck this. From the shore, we could see tall breakers out in the ocean, rolling over 10 feet high. We knew we wouldn't have the strength to overtake them. And the mere thought of trying to build full-sized raft under the watchful eyes of Nook as his spies sent a shiver down my spine. Penny was punished for just sending bottles. I don't know what they'd do if they caught me in the middle of an all-out escape. Not to mention the captain and his boat, which we suspect he'd use to patrol the surrounding waters. But groundside looked equally impossible. Fuck this. Just like my town, and I can assume all the rest, Penny reports guard dogs permanently on duty at the camp gates. The only time the gates would be open were to move animal residents in or out, which they would only do when they were sure nobody was watching. Our saving grace was that over time, Penny found out something interesting. There was someone that never used the gates to get around. Tom Nook. Fuck you. We need to know how Nook traveled between camps after he closed up his shop every evening. Penny's problem was that he was almost never in her town anymore, which is where I came in. I wondered why I saw so much of Nook. If there were different camps to watch over, are there Tom Nook copies all over the island? That seemed far-fetched. Even after the fucked up things that we've seen so far, no. What probably happened is that Nook will concentrate on fresh meat, spend most of his time on new campers until he's managed to break them, or feels confident that they're too stupid to understand what's going on. I've been giving him trouble, so he may have been sticking around longer than usual. I would never have figured all this out on my own. Between the two of us, we came up with a plan, and we put it into action the next evening. It's go time, with his little hat, little fishing hat. So cute. Nook doesn't use the gates to get around the island. And we don't want the guard dogs messing with the plan. As inconspicuously as possible, I spent the day digging for fossils, quote unquote, in front of my campsite. Betty helped me come up with a design for a pit trap that I laid over those holes to camouflage them. Ooh. If the guards were to come charging out the gates, that should slow them. My next problem was that once Nook emerged from his shop in the evening, it would be tricky to shadow him. I'd have to stay in camo and avoid any residents that were still roaming in the camp in the evening light. I tried to take cover behind trees and make quick dashes if I was going to remain unseen. Okay, we're not going to use that word. Realizing their love for ableist word bullshit festivals, I put up a notice on the bulletin board that I hoped would keep some of the more stupid residents indoors that night. Written by Billy. Hi, everybody! Tomorrow night is the Stay Indoors Festival. I hope everyone will be able to attend. Third problem was that once I escaped, I couldn't just abandon the town without putting everyone on alarm. Once I knew where to find Nook's secret escape route, we'd have to find a... Yeah, the journal said 2007. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, it is definitely that era, but it is well written, aside from the ableism. At least in my opinion. The third problem was that once I escaped, I couldn't abandon the town without putting everyone on alarm. Once I knew where to find Nook's secret escape route, we'd have to find one for Penny too, hopefully in a similar spot. Then we'd have to make another effort to find the dock, steal a boat, and it was all very risky and complicated, and honestly, the longer we waited, the more my nerves got to me. I wouldn't allow myself to imagine what would happen to us if we got caught. A moment of truth. I couldn't risk being seen, so I strained to hear the beep and whoosh of the automatic sliding door that would mark Nook's departure. As I hit around the corner of the Nook and Go, the sun setting slowly on the horizon, I began to get jittery and paranoid. I jumped at every rustle of the leaves and buzz of evening insects, and I constantly glanced back at the town gates, fully expecting the guard dogs to come charging out of the corner, hurdle the pit traps, and sink their spears into my aching chest. So I waited. The longest night of my young life. Approaching halfway. Nightlight. I waited. And I waited. All night. Nook never came. Must be 3 a.m. now, and drowsiness is starting to make me clumsy and dangerous to the mission. Quiet as death, I slinks around the corner of the store and peered into the inky blackness of the shop. Terror seeping into my imaginative brain. At first, I thought I could see shapes shambling in the dark recesses, and I almost lost my nerve before realizing it was just the ever-swinging arm of a grandfather clock Nook had on display that day. The closed sign had been turned. Sorry, we're closed. Our hours of operation are 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. The door was locked. The shop was abandoned. I swore under my breath. Utterly perplexed by Nook's twilight getaway, could he possibly have known I was watching? Could he really have been that quiet? He's some kind of fucking raccoon. After all, a thief in the night. I strained into the distance, hoping to see a hint of a shadowy figure skulking away, but there was nothing. I'd failed, and I was beginning to grimly make my way back to my house when I remembered the pit traps. As I began to clear away the evidence, an odd red glow made its way into my peripheral vision. I looked up, slightly curious, slightly panicked, to see that the night clouds were reflecting the soft red glow, though from far away, it seemed to be pulsing slightly. I love the little DS. The sky was lit up like dawn, but it wasn't morning, it was the middle of the night. That's when I heard the siren, faintly in the distance. Like a foghorn, or an air raid siren you would hear during a military strike. Auga! It was enthralling and terrifying. This possibly had something to do with our plans? Why tonight, of all nights, I quickly gathered up my work and dove into my house, half expecting the door to be busted down by angry residents with machetes and pitchforks. Cautiously, I peered through the slightest cracks in my door. To my relief, the residents were just as surprised as I was and started to come outside to look. Though after only a few minutes, the red light had faded off. I boldly went out to join them, as though I myself had been roused from bed. There was some murmuring and a few odd glances, but eventually, the party died down. Tangy. All the cool kids are asleep right now, huh? Meow. You need your beauty sleep. Calling me ugly. Nobody would tell me what was going on. They all suggested I just go back to bed. I got the impression they truly didn't know. As I walked back to my house, I overheard a disturbing comment. I haven't seen that in a good 10 years, I drawled Tortimer. What did he mean? Had this camp really been around for that long? If children had been kidnapped 10 years ago, where were they now? The thought crossed my mind that with all the other children that were starting to find out what was going on here, someone had made a mistake. Maybe there was an escape or a fight. Maybe tonight was the last night for some poor bastard on the other side of the island. Maybe our cover was blown. I had to send Penny a message, but first I have to wait for the crowd to disperse. I was already groggy from sleepless night, and morning was just starting to break by the time the residents had gone back to their homes. As usual, I found a likely seashell, marked it, and was about to send it flying when I received a third surprise that day. Balloon? In the morning? Apparently, Penny had the same idea as me and was a little quicker about it. This wasn't like her usual balloons, though. It teetered oddly in the sky, a little too heavy to catch the wind. It was coming down quickly. It almost looked like it had sprung a leak. I helped it along before anyone saw, and I scooped it up and trucked back to my house. Oh god. Here, Billy, I have to write quickly. They might be looking for me. You're not going to believe what happened. Secret passages are built into all of Nook's shops all over the island. Holy shit! I read through Penny's long letter slowly, my fatigued brain stumbling onto the words. I feel like such an idiot. Now I understand why I didn't see Nook leave last night. He builds his escape tunnels directly into each store. That would explain how he can constantly change his merchandise and why I would never see him outside. Penny couldn't wait last night. She knew Nook wasn't in her town and broke into her own store in the middle of the night, where she was surprised to discover the underground tunnels. She says there's a whole network of them under the island that leads to each of the camps. She sent me a quick sketch of what she mapped out. Okay, the center of the map is where we'd previously had a question mark, and the white line showed where the tunnels ran, branching out and running underneath each of the camps. The real shock was the main tunnel that circled into the middle. Penny had found a ladder that led up from the underground to the surface. She had hoped that the tunnel she followed that night would lead to the docks. It didn't. It led to Nook's house. I would have shit my pants if I'd suddenly... Ow! Hi, Tojiko-san. Scary Tom Nook! I would have shit my pants if I suddenly found myself at Tom Nook's doorstep and probably run away in fear, but not Penny. She broke in. Nook built this house in the middle of the island, and the area I had coincidentally noted with a giant question mark. Penny says it's lavishly furnished, but completely unprotected. Nook is quite confident that nobody would be visiting anytime soon. What she wrote next is what blew my mind. As Nook slept in his master bedroom, she found his office and rifled through his personal folders. She stole every scrap of information she could find and was about to take off, and that's when she saw him. Oof! Tojiko-san, that glaggle scared me! Woo! Glaggle jump scare. I can only imagine the unbridled horror of looking up to see Nook watching you from the shadows of his own house, rage burning like coals in those dead eyes of his. She ran for her life, broke through a window, tripped the alarm that lit up yeah, that doesn't look in-game sprite. Yeah, I know. That lit up the sky that night. I think it's like an artist's rendering. She kept running. Somehow, she found her way back to her camp, but she knew she was in trouble. Nook had seen her. Dear Billy, I don't know if he recognized me, but I can't risk it. You're the only one I can trust with this. From Penny. She didn't even have time to read what she had stolen. Oh my god. It's all right here in the box. I peeked into the box. I could immediately see that it wasn't the usual garbage. From Tom Nook. She wasn't lying. In my hands, I held the answers to all my questions, documents that would tell me the reason I was here and how to escape. The box was overflowing with bent folders, printouts, and forms outlining every action Nook made. I had Nook's personal files. Oh, we're doing it. We're doing it. Gonna have another sip of tea. We have Tom Nook's personal files, guys. I pondered the box that contained the documents while my brain screamed in horror in the back of my head as though it was trying to destroy itself through sheer force of will. I was stuck in a loop between desperately wanting to know the truth and trying to jump out of my own skull and drop itself gleefully in the ocean. Wow. His brain wants to jump into the ocean, and then I began. The folders contained innumerous business papers, formal contracts with various laborers and contractors to provide construction, the purchase of a private island, various receipts, though I never find a document that says exactly where the island is located. I get the sense that at the time it had only just been discovered. Apparently a long time ago, Nook bought this island. It's hard to tell for sure, but judging by some of these dates, it looks like he used to be a real hotshot real estate agent that did exclusive work for the rich and powerful. Kind of douchebag you'd see on highway billboards. Makes me wonder how he got away with looking like a fucked up raccoon. From these papers, I get the impression Nook wasn't a one-man show. He spent the latter part of his career working with a Japanese businessman who invested a large amount of money to purchase the island. They had made several trips to the island together to plan out construction. Interesting Tom Nook backstory here. Very interesting. The guy's name was Totakeke or something. Totakeke? Wait, that name. Keke. Holy fuck, he's talking about KK Slider. Slider used to be Nook's partner? Was Slider a Japanese businessman, or? Yeah, I guess they're saying Slider, KK Slider was a businessman. I sorted through a dozen or so construction contracts only weeks after buying the island. Tom and KK began building enclosed private beaches for wealthy tourists. That's why all these camps are private and artificially walled off. It goes on to explain that construction is slow because of the expensive faring materials and day workers. Sounds like we were right about the ferry, too. And it looks like it never got finished. Something weird happened almost 10 years ago. Not canceled all the contracts on the same day, even though it must have cost him millions. According to some receipts, he also purchased all the digging equipment on the island, and that's all I can find. Wait a second. There's a small spiral-bound notebook tucked away in the back of the box. I check the inside of the cover and shudder. Holy fuck, it's Nook's personal journal. For a moment, I almost consider not reading it, just burning everything and saving my sanity. I've learned to live without knowing why I'm here. I don't know if the same can be said once I find out, but it's impossible. I flip the back cover and swan dive into oblivion. My fingers fly over the pages. I'm reading so fast I can only catch a glimpse of the entries, but they're converging into one big horrific picture. With every page, I understand more of what's happened here. March 19th, 1997. Construction is slow. It's been raining every day for a week now, Tom Nook. March 26th. The workers dug up more of those freaky statues. They might be valuable. I'm keeping them in my office. April 3rd. A fight broke out today. One worker was badly injured. I think they were fighting over the statues. April 18th. Weird things have been happening lately. People are spooked and half the crew quit today. April 20th. KK thinks the island is cursed and we should cut our losses. I convinced him to give it one more week. May 13th. I'm staying here. KK can go fuck himself. This is my home. You can't take my gyroids. May 21st. I had to lock up KK. He threatened to call police. He wants to take my property. He's jealous. Starting to look different. Feel funny. Can't sleep. KK howls at night. This is wrong, but I have to. The gyroids say so. Nook's ramblings get worse. Soon the pages have unintelligible scribbles or childlike drawings. There's clearly a section of the journal that's been torn out. Probably because it was nothing but pure crazy. I'm surprised to find the journal picks back up 7 years later and seems strangely lucid. August 15th, 2004. Things are going well. Lots of new friends. September 2nd, 2004. I need a lot more. A lot more. At this rate, I'm going to run out in a month. November 24th, 2004. This new plan has worked very well. The young ones crossed the fastest and put up the least fight. Oh god. December 10th, 2004. My favorite is Rabbit. Oh my god. My blood runs cold. I suddenly know exactly what's happening. I have to suppress my gag reflex. I want to shut down, go into shock. But I can't stop my brain from fitting all the pieces together. Tom Nook didn't get away with being a raccoon. Tom Nook used to be a man. He was building his luxury island resorts with his partner KK. The construction crews started unearthing gyroids, and Nook began to collect the clay statues. They were doing strange things to the crew, making them act odd. KK wanted out, but Nook convinced him to wait one more week. Then the gyroids got to him. I suddenly flashed back to an old conversation I had with Nook. At the time, it seemed utterly insignificant, but now I get the context. I'd completely forgotten to mention a very important thing I must ask of you. What's your favorite animal? Billy, I'm going to give your life some meaning. That's why I ask. Oh crap, the longer you're exposed to gyroids, the more you cross over into some fucked up mutant animal creature. Oh my god, no! I flip back through the journal and reread the page carefully as the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Nook called it Animal Crossing. Oh! That's why the island is full of animal people. But Nook realized that it takes time. Judging by the dates on the journal entries, it can take over 6 months. And children cross quicker than that. His biggest problem would be keeping people captive and healthy for so long. Oh my god, it all makes sense. The entire fucking camp is designed to keep me distracted. The lie Welcome to camp. The pointless job. First things first, you need to change the work clothes. The house. You couldn't possibly be satisfied with the house. That's small, not likely. Oh my god. And don't feel rushed. Take your time. Pace yourself. That's just fine, yes? The trap. Can't have you wandering around strange towns. It just isn't safe. KK. My name is KK Slider. I play my tunes pretty much every Saturday night. Oh my god. Now I know why he looks so sad, like he's resigned to his fate. That's why he doesn't stay at my camp. He probably travels to all the island cells on different days trying to cheer up the children forced to live here. I decided if I get out of here, I'll come back for KK. That's very nice. And then there's the museum. So, to fill the exhibits, I need the cooperation of our fine residents here. What? It's like that one part of Pinocchio where they name him Pinocchio? Oh no. Oh no, you mean the part with the island. What's the name of the island? Or the fair? The fun fair? What's the name of the place with the wolves? It is a lot like Pinocchio, actually. It's like they go to the circus, right? That's a good story. Guillermo del Toro, Jorge, you gotta watch. If you want to go on a Guillermo del Toro kick, we should also watch Pinocchio, Jorge. No pressure. That's why it's empty. A completely pointless waste of time. I bet each child crosses over. After each child crosses over, they empty out all the shit they've collected for the next victim to start over. La Isla de los Juegos. The island of, yeah, I guess. No, no me acuerdo. Yo vi Pinocchio de Guillermo del Toro en inglés. Así que... Pleasure Island! Okay, yeah. En español es Isla de los Juegos. In English it's Pleasure Island. ¿Viste el nuevo Pinocchio por Guillermo del Toro? Me encanta. Mi pareja y yo vamos a ver ¿cómo se llama? Frankenstein. Vamos a ver el nuevo de Frankenstein. Creo que lo veremos ese año. Creo. Estoy tomando mi té. I'm having my tea. That's why it's empty. Okay, so the museum is just meant to just keep you busy as you're slowly crossing into an animal. Fossils. Fuck, I'm an idiot. There's no dinosaur bones at sea level. They're all planted here. They don't rise out of the ground. They're put in. That's terrible. Tangy. All the cool kids are asleep by now. The residents must go around while I sleep and put new ones in for me to find. That's why there's always a mound of dirt where fresh fossils are buried. That's why the other residents never contributed to the museum. That's why I saw Tangy that night wandering around with a shovel. Wait, that means the goddamn gyroids. Oh, fuck me. Nobody wanted me to find them. Nook wanted me to find them. Oh my god. He wanted me to put them in my house and obsess over them. If he forced me to keep them around, I'd fight it. But this way, fuck, ever since I found them, I've been slow. My thoughts have been cloudy. It seems that the more you're exposed to, the quicker you cross over. I think I'm still human, but I can't remember how long I've been here anymore. But that leaves one question. The big one, why is Nook turning us into animals? I reread this journal slowly and tried to think of all the things that had happened to me here. My hands shaking uncontrollably, it all comes back to the gyroids. I know they try to talk to me, but I can only imagine what they say to Nook. He was the first to fall for their influence. Oh, he's the original. What are they telling him to do? Then I figure it out. Yo, Billy, I'm moving. Man, we had a great time chilling at camp. I'll think of you when I pump that iron. What's your favorite animal? I need a lot more. At this rate, I'm gonna run out in a month. Oh, he eats us. That's why the residents just disappear one day without a trace. Once they become an animal, he eats them, the sick fuck. Are the gyroids telling him to do it? Is he just playing some kind of rabid raccoon behavior? Oh my god, what the fuck? I think my favorite's rabbit. I think he just likes it. I tried to catch my breath, but it was hard to breathe, and the walls were closing in on me. I had completely lost track of time. Shuffling through the huge stack of files and papers all day, and the sun was starting to come down. I was starting to hyperventilate and felt dizzy. I didn't know what to do. All I could think of was Penny. What had they done to Penny? I might have lost my mind then, if the door hadn't suddenly been busted down. Ugh, mutant animal freaks swarmed in, their clawed hands scoring my skin as they dragged me screaming from my house into the darkness of night. Oh my god. No good deed goes unpunished. Wow. Part 9. I woke up with a headache so severe I immediately puked over the side of the bed. Oh, that was me today! That was me! My head rang like a bell and my sight was blurry, as if I had been on the bender from hell. I could only remember fragments of last night, but I remembered enough to know what I had read. The other residents had suddenly broken into my house. They suddenly knew I had documents. They dragged me from the house, a makeshift grave dug for me, where they buried me up to my waist and set to beating me with their hooves and claws. I thought this would be the end. Eventually, I blacked out. Little nice black frame there. Now I was back in bed. I was really having trouble focusing my vision. It was making me nauseous. I went to rub my eyes when I felt a patch. They'd beat me pretty bad and then bandaged me up. They didn't want to kill me. They just wanted to break me. The entire side of my head was numb with pain. Somehow my thoughts flew back to Penny. Because I could just do this to me just for reading something I shouldn't have. What would they do to her? Was she dead? It was almost too much to bear. I had to know. I had to find out if she was okay. I managed to hobble onto my feet and head downstairs. I suppose I wasn't surprised to find out they had taken everything I had made or owned. The house was utterly empty except for the gyroids. Goddamn monstrosities. Nothing had changed. The residents acted as though nothing had happened. They openly mocked me, as if we'd all shared a wonderful spot of tea and biscuits last night. It's nice to see that your house is getting a little bigger, Billy. Oh my god. In my mind, I imagined a knife plunging into their hard faces over and over. A horse-shaped resident walked by awkwardly. He looked at me oddly, with more sympathy than I'd ever seen from anyone besides KK. He nervously approached and whispered, "When Tom Nook, he got obsessed with that kind of thing. All of camp suffered. Oh, too many tears. Can't even see you. I just can't even talk about what happened right now, Tenderfoot." Oh, I felt like shit. I didn't think he was apologizing for a beating. What did he mean about Nook being obsessed with that kind of thing? Did he mean the part where Nook fucking eats you? Suddenly, a new kind of numbness started to set in, and I realized I wasn't just emotional. I couldn't feel my left eye. I poked my patch, and it depressed. Too much. They took my eye. They took my fucking eye! A month ago, I would have cried until I was spent. I would run to my bed and pull the covers over my head and pray for a quick death. This was just Nook's way of saying I had seen too much, but I was beyond afraid. I felt nothing. A dozen seashell letters were sent over the wall in the next few days, where they all must have started to pile up. There wasn't much else I could do. I had fallen into a terrible state of antipathy. Nothing mattered. My existence was pointless. I could never escape, and one day my ambitions would be nothing more than being shat out of Tom Nook's ass. The only thing that kept me going was the hope that Penny was still alive. I would spend all my time staring east in a catatonic state, as if Penny was going about her daily business, preparing a balloon with a smile on her face, anxiously waiting a reply. I knew that wasn't the reality of it. At the very least, she'd be locked up and under constant supervision. But a glimmer of hope crossed my mind. Maybe it's too important to Nook that we cross over. Maybe he won't kill his victims because he needs us more than we need him. Even at the darkest times, hope springs eternal. I knew that I wouldn't give up until I rescued Penny, and she would do the same for me. A week passed, and my depression and physical pain had started to wane. But I was beginning to have vivid nightmares. I wouldn't go for more than a few hours without screaming myself awake. I guess it wasn't surprising. My whole life had become one big nightmare. One morning was especially bad. I didn't know what Penny looked like, but I could imagine her shrieking in terrible pain. As I woke up in a panic that morning, the voice faded off in the morning light. I knew I couldn't wait any longer. I unexpectedly remembered that something had picked at me a few nights before. I knew what I was gonna do. I remembered the axe I had bought from Nook. I had hidden it away under my bed for an emergency like this, and I prayed they hadn't found it. They hadn't. I was gonna go chop down some trees, make a raft, and float over the rocky outer shore to Penny's camp, where I'd bust into her cabin and save her, and we'd float off into the sunset. I knew it seemed stupid and impossible, but I was tired of complicated plans and tired of failing. I was finally prepared to take action. I dared anyone to get in my way. I almost wished they would. The sun held high in the sky. I headed to the water and started hacking at the closest tree. Not only did it not attract the attention I thought it might, I hadn't seen any residents at all that day. A little eerie, to be honest. But I wouldn't be distracted. If they were off at a security meeting or some other bullshit, all the better. All my bravado vanished with a flicker on the horizon. A balloon. Seemed completely impossible, but there it was, hanging heavily in the sky. I had lost my slingshot and my depth perception was terribly poor, but I was prepared to fling all the stones on the island to get that one balloon to drop. It didn't take long before the package came down with a damp thud. Tore away at the wrapping paper to find the usual battered envelope. She had always written to me with a particular flowery stationery. This wasn't it. Dear Billy, I've been a bad girl. You probably think that I'm innocent, but I'm not. I'll tell you why. I screamed for 3 days, and they took out my tongue. I threw bottles to the sea, and they took my arm. But worst of all, I stole what was not mine, and I lied about it. So you see, I am not so innocent. I hope that you will make better choices, Billy. I've sent you my last gift. I don't need it anymore. What the fuck? My hands went instinctively to the box where I began to tug the lid. I stopped. Something was wrong with this box. It slumped to the side, and all the wrapping paper on the bottom looked moist, like a fast food bag holding a greasy hamburger. My gut screamed full force to leave the package where it lay, walk away. In my head, I shrieked, "Don't open it. Don't open it!" And I clawed at my brain like fingernails on a chalkboard. I saw my hands reach towards the lid as though I had no control over my muscles. The lid fell to the side. Oh god. Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. Okay. We're gonna finish it the next 5 chapters. Just 1 second. I just want to put my rice on. I'll be right back in a minute, guys. Hold on.
wonderful. I am a baby Glaggle. I am a baby Glaggle. I am a baby Glaggle. This occurrence is so joyous.
Sorry for the sound of my tea kettle. God, I don't even want to think about what was in that hamburger wrapper. The weighted companion. The cliffhanger mark, but we're gonna finish it up now. Ow! I know I shouldn't look. In my head, I went back and forth a million times. Should I look? Could I go on without knowing? I must have thought about it for almost 20 minutes, but it felt like 3 days. In my wildest fantasies, I just couldn't convince myself that anything good could possibly be in that box. But I'm just human, and whoever tied this balloon knew it. I peer cautiously into the box's depths, awaiting my one good eye to confirm its frantic suspicions. A severed limb, an AWOL organ, a whole fucking head leering at me askew. My heart raced as I glimpsed at the contents. A thick red goo covered the bottom. Bulbous chunks provided some unwelcome depth. I could feel my adrenaline kick in. I blinked. Confused. Good bad ending split? Oh god. This is the Pro Box version. Interesting. So that's cool. Some cracked glass? A black metal frame? Some power cord? If I didn't know better, I'd say someone to put a lava lamp in here. It had busted in the fall. It was a lava lamp. What? This was Penny's last gift? Wait a second. You have to weigh the balloon down to keep from flying off. Oh, on a hunch, I began to feel my way through the lamp sludge with my fingers wrapped around something unexpectedly heavy and smooth. It was a key. And it had Nook's symbol on it. The burden of the anticipated horror I'd been carrying lightened an ounce. Could Penny possibly still be out there, being held captive? Being tortured? Stop it. I had to focus. So this was how Penny got into the shop that night. I wonder how she managed to snag it. It'd only been about a week, but it seemed like a lifetime ago. That's what they're talking about, how she was a bad girl and stole something. She definitely didn't write the letter, obviously. Screw the raft. I was taking the express route. I don't even know how to build a raft. It really was Nook's key. It was in the middle of the day, but Nook had locked his shop tight, which was suspicious, because I still hadn't seen a single resident in town. I unlocked it and slid open with a familiar whoosh. Even with light shining through the windows, it was unsettling to be in Nook's store alone. My nerves were tingling at the very possibility that I was walking into a trap. More animal people gonna start swarming out of hidden panels to give me another beating? Something told me they wouldn't. Didn't add up. What was going on around here? It didn't take long to find the secret passage. The noise is my tea kettle, Mark. I'm sorry for the noise. It's boiling my tea. I can wait for it to stop if you want. Sorry. I don't have the best denoiser. I guess I could use a different one. I have a couple different denoiser plugins that I could use. It's just brewing me some more tea. I'm getting greedy. No, it's the blowing wind. It's the scary wind. Woo! We found the secret passage, Mark. After a few minutes of wandering around, I had the thought to push the large green dollar sign on the cash register. A small trap door popped open on the floor in front of me. Predictable. A narrow ladder led into an ominous pitch abyss? Pitch black abyss, I guess. If it had been me instead of Penny that night, I would have promptly turned around and gone back to talking to my gyroids, but I wasn't the same Billy anymore. I didn't even care about escape anymore. Only thing I wanted was to see Penny, and if that was impossible, I shuddered. I was gonna see blood. Billy's gone bad. The noise stopped, right? It probably stopped. Sorry. I looked around the store and noticed that Nook had a camping lantern on sale today. 5-finger discount. I was lucky. It came preloaded. I flicked it on to its woefully inadequate brightest setting. I looked over the side of the opening in the murky darkness. It smelled like wet earth and rotting plants. The sun beating down outside. Surprising to be somewhere this cold. The tunnel was short and crude at best, with roots and earthworms dotting the earthen walls. My palms were clammy. I tightened the grip on my axe. I was gonna see how deep this rabbit hole went. I didn't get far. Oh god. Old fear gripped me, but it was quickly replaced with new determination. I was a new Billy. I guess this was a good time as any. It was just us. No hope of escape. He looked genuinely surprised to see me. I squared off with the son of a bitch. My arch nemesis, the cause of all my pain and suffering, axe trembling in my unsteady hands. I'll kill you, Nook. I'm not afraid of you anymore. He stood there, motionless. Stared me in the eyes. I could tell he was trying to make a decision. An immeasurable moment passed between us before he replied, shoulders visibly slumping. Do it. I won't stop you. I took a step forward, waiting for the other shoe to drop. It had to be a trick, but it was now or never. I took another step and swung with the untrained wrath of a furious 8-year-old fighting for his life. The unexpected heft of the axe carried me off balance into the tunnel wall, the blade falling short and biting onto Nook's leg. He dropped to the dirt motionless. Crimson gushed from the deep gash in his thigh, and my stomach did somersaults at sight of drawn blood. Fuck you. Fuck you. What the hell are you doing? Come on, boy. Get it over with. No, what did you do to Penny? Where is she? Nook raised his head heavily, sweat hanging from his brow. He was clearly in excruciating pain. He braved a wry grin, sadness hanging from the edge of his mouth. You've been a pain in the ass since you showed up, Billy. Forget Penny. Just get out of here. That key will work on the boat on the west end of the island. Please! He sighed heavily, the sigh of a man letting go whatever he had left. In the faint light of the drop lamp, I could make out his dilated raccoon eyes staring 1,000 miles away. His breathing had started to get heavy. We were building a resort. Half the crew quit because of those goddamn gyroids. We offered to pay double to anyone that would stay. It wasn't long before they started to turn into animals. Stop it! Just tell me where Penny is! Did she cross? Did you eat her? Shut up, Billy. Shut up or kill me. It's your choice. Tears were starting to well in my eyes. Tears that I thought had been lost permanently. There were over hundreds of us, helplessly turning into these abominations. When you cross, you lose your mind for a little while, Billy. Things got bad. I had to lock up KK because he was attacking people randomly. Calling it the Lord of the Flies would be an understatement. Several separate gangs formed and we did horrible things to each other for territory, but that was a long time ago. Over time, you'll start to regain your memories. You'll never forget what you've done. His eyes had become glossy. He suddenly stared right at me with a force that was almost tangible. I sent you those letters, Billy. I almost had an aneurysm. I choked on my strained reply. Liar! You're the leader! You're controlling everything! You just want to keep children here until they cross and you eat them, you piece of shit! I read your papers! I read your journal! Eat you? Thought you were smarter than that. What? What? You can't escape this island, Billy. We're hundreds of miles off the coast of Japan. The island isn't even on any maps. Oh, you're welcome to try. I hope you make it. God knows I've tried. Look what I got for my effort. He tapped his right arm against the rocky dirt wall. Hollow clack of plastic echoing the tunnel. Fake arm. Can't believe I never noticed. And it was hard to tell. It was plastic beneath the matted fur he had attached to it. For the first time, I noticed a slight effort in his voice. An inability to form sharp sounds. No tongue. I'm not the leader. I'm just in charge of the cells. In the early days, they used to torture the new kids, but I was able to convince them it would be easier this way. I tried to make all of you as comfortable as I could. Most of them are happy and stupid enough that they never even know what's going on, even after they cross. Sometimes we get kids like you. This can't be right. It's another of Nook's fucking lies. He's just trying to keep me confused, guessing. After all this time, how could he claim to be looking out for us, trying to make our lives better? Indignation coursed through my veins. You're a liar. I don't believe you. Why would you pretend to be Penny? Why would you give me your own journal? Why would you have been sending me mixed messages like that creepy fucking letter that you put your key in? Yeah, you're right, Mark. Perfect timing. It's like the universe knows. Look at me, Billy. Look at your face. This is what happens when you try to escape. They take something from you. Only thing I can give you is hope. Hope that there's something else out there. Ain't you noticed that I did nothing but encourage you to wait longer and longer? Try to scare you into doing nothing? Wouldn't let you take any action? I have to admit, I didn't predict you'd use the balloons to map the island. Never should have taken this long. You should have crossed by now. At least then maybe you could finally accept that you're stuck here. I sent you one last letter to try to scare you into letting it all go and giving up. I gave you my key on the off chance you decided to grow some balls. I wasn't lying. I don't need it anymore. To be honest, I didn't think I'd see you down here. I was starting to lose it. Something deep in my gut told me he wasn't lying. It was bleeding out in front of my eyes and he didn't care. He answered some questions that had been gnawing at the back of my mind that I had been trying to ignore. How could a little girl like Penny have broken into Nook's house and just happened to find his private papers and journals? Why would she run back to her own cell? How could she get away with putting together a package every day? Tears are streaming down my face. Then, there's no Penny? It was never real? Oh, she's real, alright. He must have seen the shock on my face. He averted his eyes and continued. Penny runs this freak show. I'm sorry, kid. I had to use her name on the letters because I couldn't risk someone else finding the messages by accident and tracking them back to me. Nobody would question a message from Penny. He managed a weak smile. I'm running out of limbs. No. Shit. Could have told you this. Come on, get out of here. Make a run for it. You're smarter than the rest of them. I think you'll have a real shot. No. It's not true, and I can prove it. About the end of your journal. How would you say that you need more children? Why did you say that rabbits are your favorite? The smile on his lips melted away, and he groaned and shivered, almost indistinguishably. He leaned back and rested his head against the tunnel wall. Listen, you're not supposed to know some things. I finally snapped. I punched him hard across the face and grabbed him by the collar, pulling his face to mine, and I screamed, "You think you've suffered? You think you're a saint because you tried to make this hellhole comfortable? Fuck you, you goddamn coward. You think I got anything left to lose? Ha! Now tell me everything." He looked me in the eyes. The tension hung in the air like a baby grand piano. It was a metallic tinge floating in the misty tunnel you could almost taste. Penny is my wife. She was living with me on this dig site the whole time. She didn't cross over the same way the rest of us did. She never recovered. She lost her mind. Everyone is afraid of her. They do whatever she says. The thing is, she did to some of the other animals. She skinned some of them alive and wore their... He trailed off for a fraction of a second. I think her cancer messed with the crossing. She was terminal. The only reason I bought this place was because I wanted her to live... You know, we wanted to live the rest of her days in comfort on a tropical paradise. This was going to make us enough money to never have to worry about her medical bills again. It was all for her. She had a full team of round-the-clock doctors we paid to keep on the island. They all crossed too. Then something happened that surprised me more. And more than I thought was possible. Nook began to sob. This wasn't the Nook I knew. This wasn't the Nook I wanted dead. This was a broken man named Tom. Wow. He took over the house and took over the journal and the business. She came up with a plan to get new residents. She never did anything to me, but she's insane. She thinks she can replace the cancerous parts of her body with... Children aren't. She thinks we'll be together forever. With unexpected dexterity, a gleam flashed from underneath his clerk's apron. It was a knife. I covered my face with my arms, waiting for pain. When I finally looked, Tom's body was slumped over, his vacant eyes staring at me, begging forgiveness. Tom died unloved and alone in a dirty hole like an animal. What was I supposed to do now? I don't know how long I stood there in disbelief. 1,000 thoughts buzzed through my eyes. A thousand thoughts buzzed through my battered mind like an angry swarm of bees. Memory of these horrid months of my life flashed like a slideshow behind my eyes. One in particular stood out. You might want to limit yourself to only cutting trees that are in the way. I think it's time to finally meet Penny. Huh. Trick question. I realized how alone I really was. In the beginning, there was still the hope I could connect to some other residents. Then I had the gyroids. As misguided as that was, at least I could pretend. Then Penny. Now I reason the man I hated this whole time was my only friend. And I had practically killed him myself. Wow. Maybe I could escape. Maybe I'd be luckier than Tom and get away in the night and travel hundreds of miles in the right direction without running out of fuel and land in a foreign country that could send me back home. Maybe. Or I could be caught, mutilated, and sent back to camp to wait for some crazy B-word to come take my organs. Nah, there's only one way out of here. I used the map, quote-unquote, Penny had sent me of the island's underground to find my way to the house in the middle of the island. To call it a house is an understatement. It was a mansion. And I came from up the tunnel to see it from the back, its ominous silhouette accentuated by a halo of occluded sunlight. On the other side of the house, I could make out the murmur of a large gathering, the kind of low-din a mob make. I wonder if that's where all the residents had gone when they were here. Even sneaking around to look would have been suicide. Lucky for me, back door hung open like a mouth of a giant angry gyroid waiting to swallow me up. Did Tom leave this door open for me? There was no going back. My hands hurt from the death grip I had on my axe. The house was a complete disaster. Trash covered the floor and previously elegant furniture was smashed into pieces and pushed up against torn wallpaper. No lights were on in the gloomy foyer. The house appeared to have had the same layout as all the other ones they built in camp, but this one was much larger. I knew where Penny would be. I made my way up to the 3rd floor. The bedroom door hung slightly ajar, and from inside I could hear the shuffle of movement. Through the crack, I could make out 2 large French doors on front of the room that were open to a balcony. It looked as though Penny was about to make an announcement to the crowd like some sort of deranged dictator. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. Was I really going to do this? I didn't even know what I was going to do. Run in there? Chop her into tiny pieces and try to make it back into the tunnels without anyone seeing me? There's no rational course of action left. There was just action. My arm reached for the door and it creaked inside. I saw her. She was sitting at a dresser, fixing her face. Tom, dear, is that you? Did you bring the boy I told you to fetch? Did you have to hurt him? Oh my god. Her voice shifted from a rational person to someone who had seriously lost her mind. A sort of gleeful malevolence only found in comic books. She turned slightly and caught my eye in her mirror. Oof, I almost fainted. Her face was falling apart. It was clear a hideous disease was eating her alive. Her eyes were wrong. One was dark black marble you'd expect of a mouse, and the other... Oh shit. It was my eye. I felt dizzy, and the room started to spin. My legs were about to buckle. At the last second, I pulled myself back together. I prayed that this would end quickly. One way or the other, I stumbled on my words. I wasn't even sure what reaction I was trying to get. Tom's dead. I killed him. Dead? Phew. That rascal was always getting into trouble. Now, where am I supposed to find a child whose favorite animal is raccoons? Maybe Nebraska. She didn't even care. She had completely lost it. I have to kill you, Penny. I brandished my axe as menacingly as dirty, malnutritioned child could muster. At this point, a shout went up from the crowd below. All eyes had turned to the drama playing out in the bedroom. Yes, dear, that's fine. A little bit. We can't keep the crowd waiting, can we? No, we can't. It's a good thing you showed up. My heart seized up. Oh, God, what have I done? Tom knew what was going on here. He told me to run because he knew everyone was gathered here, and it would be a long time before they'd start to look for me. I had a real shot, he said. He knew it was going to happen here, and it was so horrible he'd rather be dead than play any part in it. I was so focused on the hideous freak that Penny had become that I hadn't noticed her personal guard dogs looming in the shadows behind me. They grabbed my arms with unnatural strength, twisting the axe from my hands. It fell harmlessly to the floor with a dull thud, and it stared at her like a skydiver with a faulty parachute.
Come on, Billy. This'll be fun.
The guards dragged me downstairs while Penny addressed the crowd from her balcony. I could hear her voice, muffled through the walls of the house. It was hard to make out complete sentences. What I could make out was this. She was very upset about her documents and journals being stolen. She didn't know who did it, but she was going to find out and I was going to help. She ordered everyone to line up. We emerged from the front of the house, the sharp sunlight making the figures before me indistinguishable and blurry until my eyes had adjusted. In front of me was a long row of children, most crying, some expressionless. Some were missing legs or ears or other pieces I couldn't plainly see. They were being held against their will by their respective guard dogs. Residents of each camp watching from behind, I tried not to fall apart, but I had a terrible premonition that I knew what was about to happen. Penny screamed like a banshee from the balcony.
Well, Billy, would you be so kind as to tell me which of your friends here stole my belongings?
She didn't know. She couldn't understand that Tom betrayed her, and now someone was going to suffer for his actions. There was no time left to think.
It was me. I did it. Leave them alone. Ow!
Leave them alone!
Poor, brave Billy. You've already paid for your crime. Don't make me add lying to your list of punishments. I know you were in your own camp, so it couldn't have been you. I'm very busy, and I'd really like to know who sent you those papers, Billy.
It was Tom. Tom did it. He did everything. Please just let them go. Penny motioned to the first child in the line. The boys' guards looked panicked but resigned to do Penny's will, but grudgingly they dragged the boy, screaming, to the back of the house. Penny turned and left the balcony. Several minutes passed. Blood-curdling screams filled the air. Ah! The screaming stopped abruptly. From inside the house, the dull thumps of someone heavily climbing stairs could be heard. Penny returned to the balcony with her prize. She held out her arm and waved around the arm she was holding.
Look, Harold's waving goodbye to all of you. Now, how about the truth this time, Billy?
The crowd collectively gasped, children intermittently screaming for their own lives. I doubled over, trying to heave, but my stomach had nothing to give up. Too much. I couldn't deal with this. She was making me choose who to slaughter like livestock, and if I didn't tell her what she wanted to hear, she'd drag each one of the kids behind her house. She was making a show of this so no one would ever cross her again.
Well, think carefully this time, won't you?
My mind went blank. We were all going to die here, gutted by an insane monster until no one was left. They'd ship in a new batch of children after, and it would go on forever. They have some music, but I'm not going to listen to it. All's well that ends. Part 12. For the first time, I didn't have any options, no hopeful plan or bed to hide in. Penny knew it wasn't me that took her papers. She didn't believe it was Nook. I don't even know who she thought did it, but if I guessed wrong, she'd keep killing me until I guessed right. Or there was no one left. I don't know if I could live with that. And then what would she do to me? Thoughts flew through my head like bullets, but were inevitably rejected like golf balls off a brick wall. I didn't know what to do. Seconds passed like eons.
It was me.
Shocked, I glanced over to see a gangly figure. A tall, relatively older boy had stepped forward. He was missing a leg from the knee down and moved slowly on a makeshift crutch. What are you doing? The sides of his head were flat, lacking the telltale silhouette of ears. He couldn't hear me.
Oh, Philip. You always were a troublemaker, Why don't we take a walk together?
It's Philip! Now I know why you remembered it. She giggled to herself at the thought of forcing Philip to hobble alongside her on a pleasant afternoon stroll before again leaving the balcony. Phil, I knew that name. It was one of the children that had sent back a message to me
when I was first mapping the island. No guards dragged him along. As he shambled past and caught my eye, there was the briefest hint of a grin on his lips. I was beginning to think that everyone had lost it when I realized Phil had a plan of his own. Well, whatever Phil was planning to do won't work. Penny would never believe that this boy, barely able to round the corner of her house, was capable of breaking in at night and running off with her documents. Philip, don't! It was already gone. The entire crowd was mesmerized, staring into the empty side lot where Philip had disappeared from sight, waiting for screams or for Penny to appear again from the balcony. And then what? Wow. Oh, different Philip. And then we choose another sacrifice and go on into the night. This was the closest thing to a shot in hell I'd ever had, and my body reacted before my brain could tell it to stop. I spontaneously twisted from the grip of the guard who had himself become transfixed by the anticipation of the scene. It made a break for the side where Philip had disappeared. Maybe between the two of us we could overpower the deranged mouse. Maybe without her canine entourage we stood a chance. We didn't. I turned the corner to see Penny hunched over the boy like a vulture. Both figures were covered in blood, but one was not moving. Philip was dead. Yet the blood was not entirely his. On the ground beside Philip was his crutch, the end of which had been sharpened to a dull point. I hadn't noticed before. In Penny's side, a deep gash oozed inhumanly thick, dark blood. With the sound of footsteps behind her, she had stopped what she was doing to look. She had been digging through his chest with her clawed arm like a gleeful child rooting through a discount bin of video games, looking for organs she'd like to keep and tossing the rest haphazardly to the ground in front of her. Around her. My sight suddenly went blank, as if to save me from the inescapable trauma, but in truth it was because guard dogs had plowed into me from behind, knocking me to the ground. The key in my pocket dug heavily into my thigh before springing freely into the dirt. As my vision returned, I was shocked by Penny's gruesome visage hovering over me, key in hand, eyes blazing. "Where did you get this, boy?" There was nothing to say. Penny grasped me with uncanny strength for a mouth, and with a gut wound that literally dragged me through the mud, through the back entrance of the house and up the stairs, she shrieked to the guards, "Stay!" Back in the bedroom, she propelled me with superhuman force against a wall. I slumped onto the floor. She closed the doors and balcony and rushed at me, burying her claw deep in my shoulder to hold me in place. Her face pressed against mine, and my terror rose as I was forced to stare deep into my own eye. "Where is Tom? Why isn't he here?" My voice cracked. Her clawed fist was cutting off my windpipe. "Told you. Tom's dead." She slammed me hard against the wall. "You couldn't kill a fly, you weak waste of meat. Where's Tom?" I didn't know why. I hadn't realized it sooner, but Penny wasn't unaffected by Tom's death. She just hadn't believed me until now. Vitriol was beginning to boil in my veins. I exploded furiously. "Oh, wow, she thinks I'm a weenie. He killed himself. He killed himself because he couldn't stand the thought of having to live one more minute with a hideous failure of nature like you. He'd rather be dead than have to wake up every morning next to a monster." Oh my god. That's so mean. You're just trying to make her snap. I fear I wasn't already crazy. Penny's face suddenly twisted between unimaginable rage and emotional anguish before settling on something approaching neutrality. She let go of my punctured shoulder, small rivulets of blood trickling down my chest. Took a step back. Her voice buckled from that of a shrieking ghoul to an unfamiliarly human tone. "He committed suicide? Because of me?" I was transfixed by the emotional roller coaster playing out before me. Penny was looking past me now, her eyes glazed over, her thoughts 1,000 miles away. "Tom, we were supposed to be together. You said it would only be a few more days until they got here. Just a few more days. We were supposed to be together. Forever." Her face, distorted as it was, had begun to display the sincerest appearance of regret. It was almost more disturbing than her wrath, which unexpectedly regained control as her gaze returned to me. A deranged grin overtook the corners of her mouth, like some unseen puppeteer had pulled it there. You know what I'm gonna do, Billy? I'm not gonna kill you. No, that wouldn't be fitting. I'm going to make you hurt forever. That's what Tom would want. I'm gonna start with your hands and feet. Penny began listing the ways in which she would happily mutilate me for as long as possible. She had lost herself in bloodlust, dreamily gazing skyward while she fantasized about every possible way she could make me suffer. It was terrifying, and I believed every word of it. But Penny had made a mistake. She was used to ruling with fear, and it had served her well for a long time. Penny never knew fear herself. She didn't know it the way I did. She didn't understand that she was a virus, that every shot she infected me with, she didn't realize she was a virus, and that every shot she injected me with built up my tolerance. This was her last shot, and it was one big one, but it couldn't kill me. I was the vaccine. This is very like, I came here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. My body had become a processing plant for adrenaline. As Penny continued to blather on about my torturous future, I slowly rose to my feet. My muscles were clenched so hard I ached. I finally did what I had been too afraid to do in the past, what Tom had been too afraid to do. Oh my god, we're gonna watch the video. He's gonna kick ass and chew bubblegum, guys. I guess we're downloading the flash file? Part 12 WMV?
Maybe I'll take away your other eye.
Oh my god. You did it!
This is mine.
Espero que no. Sí, de verdad, espero que no. Yo tengo antivirus. Está bien, yo tengo antivirus. No, pero, ¿escuchaste? El Billy es la vacuna. Entonces, si, si viene con virus, el Billy es la vacuna. Ok. Anyway, I'll delete it. Todo está conectado. Yeah, R.I.P. Flash. Oh, we have a little description, but it's fine. Yeah, that was kind of creepy. Yeah, Flash animation was a time, wasn't it? I'm not listening to the soundtrack that's supposed to go with this. If you want, there is a soundtrack. You can look it up if you find the page. The crowd gathered in a circle around the scene, mouths agape. The air hung heavily around us, soundless except for my weighty breathing. Pain was starting to seep back into my limbs when another sound floated in on the breeze. A low hum that seemed to pulse from an indeterminable distance. Residents began to look towards the sky, confused by the barrage of strange events that were throwing their world into disarray. Suddenly a shout went up from the far end of the crowd. Helicopter! Oh my god! Slowly, a dark speck on the horizon came into view, moving rapidly towards us, until the trees around the house were disturbed by the hovering aircraft. I glanced nervously at the animal residents. Some had started to flee. Some stood in a terrified stupor. The guard next to me looked at the corpse, then at me, then at the chopper hanging in the sky as though he were trying to piece together what had just happened, and had just blown a fuse. I expected residents to start raining down upon me, avenging their leader, but the wrath never came. They just stood there blankly. As a helicopter touched on the large patch of grass in the mansion's front yard, on the helicopter's side was a symbol. A white field with a radiating red sun. Oh, is it a Japanese military? Yeah, it must be Japanese military to the rescue. Armed men hopped from the helicopter and formed a perimeter. A tall man in a suit waded through the bewildered crowd to where I was standing. I'm not sure how military works in Japan. Are there... It's very nice that they're saving the children. Maybe they're like a special Animal Crossing crimes unit. He offered my badge for inspection and asked with a slight accent, "Are you Tom?" And that's where my story ends. Look at that, the epilogue. If you're reading this journal, I suppose you're wondering what happened next. I'd feel remiss if I didn't transcribe it here, at least for my own peace of mind. I was taken into custody and returned to the US. The United States government asked me to record what happened on that island, and I wrote up this official document. It's taken years of professional psychiatric care to get to the point where I can even think about it without having a mental breakdown. I'm almost 30 years old now. And sitting here looking at this big picture, I can hardly believe any of it myself. I'm sure all of this will be filed under C for crazy never seen again, but it helps to see it written down. I still haven't returned home. It's been a long time, and by now I'm sure my mother has moved on. Maybe I would just shock and upset her. Maybe I'm afraid to go home, but I'll do it someday, soon, honest. I guess for posterity's sake, I should mention how they found us. It was much later than I learned a distress beacon had been sent from the mansion. I think Nook had told Penny that he was going to fly in more doctors to help her. She had killed most of the originals. Definitely reads like an official document. Yeah, definitely. Oh, I guess for posterity's sake, yeah, she killed most of the original doctors. But that left me wondering for a long time why he had to die if he thought someone was coming to rescue them. Why did he kill himself? My psychiatrist says that when people experience severe trauma, they often validate their fears. Do you think Tom was so afraid his last plan for escape would fail, like everything else, that he killed himself to make sure it came true? I think that's bullshit. Tom died because he was past his breaking point. I had learned that Tom was my only real friend. What I didn't realize at the time was that it went both ways. I was his only friend. When Penny had ordered him to bring me to the mansion, he couldn't do it. He didn't want the memories. He didn't want the guilt. He didn't want the judgment. He took the easy way out. I was hooked into a government laboratory for months. They ran medical tests on me since my days on the island. There was something different about me. I was resistant to the gyroids. They are unsure if the gyroids produce a biological chemical reaction in people, or if there's some other explanation, some sort of undiscovered mystic power. They were able to use samples of my blood to make a vaccine that seems to be relatively effective in combating it. Penny didn't cross right the first time, so when she had my eye implanted into her, she began to revert, and her body rejected it, and it was literally killing her. It made me wonder if she used to be even worse, even stronger. If she hadn't been weakened by the transplant, could I possibly have taken her down? Better not to think about it. In other residents, my genes would occasionally slowly reverse the gyroid's effects. Some of the residents they used it on even slowly returned to their human selves, as though the crossing were just a virus or radiation that could be purged. Though I was resistant, I was not immune. Nobody can tell me how long it would have taken me to cross, maybe months, maybe days. Some people say everything happens for a reason. Would I do it all again if I knew I could save these people? Honest truth is, I don't know. The island has been condemned. The Japanese military, not knowing what to do with the dangerous gyroid statues, began to carry them out in small numbers to a particularly deep part of the ocean and sink them. I guess it's safer than keeping them in a lab or using them to develop weapons, but something occurred to me recently. Even though they would only dispose of small numbers of gyroids at a time at the bottom of the ocean, they must be piling up in large amounts. I can't help but wondering if they turn human into animals. What do they turn animals into? Wow, scary. That was it, the end. There are other endings? I think maybe we'll read the anti-box ending another time. I don't think I really have time for that, but that was an amazing story. What do you think the gyroids turn animals into?